Amongst the Philadelphia Eagles fan base, Chip Kelly is pretty much an unwelcome figure. He was the man mostly responsible for dismantling an Eagles team that consisted of players like LeSean McCoy, DeSean Jackson, and Jeremy Maclin. So it wasn't too surprising when diehard Philly fans reacted to the news of Chip Kelly's firing in the 2015 NFL season.
Chip Kelly! What's up with it, cuz?
Anyways, we're going to take a look back at the Chip Kelly era in Philadelphia, but first we're going to briefly cover the season prior to get a better understanding of what the Eagles organization were going through prior to his appointment. The 2012 NFL season for the Philadelphia Eagles was a campaign that the team had entered with the loftiest of expectations. However, despite their best efforts, the team just always managed to come up just short. It seemed like no matter what they did, things would never work out for them. The Eagles finished 4-12 on the season under head coach Andy Reid, and at the end of the campaign, the Eagles parted way with the man who had been at the helm for 14 seasons and was the winningest coach in franchise history. In replace of Reid, the Eagles hired Oregon Ducks head coach Chip Kelly, whose team was a dynamically paced offensive juggernaut in the Pac-12. Around this time, the NFL had shifted in 2012 to become a league of pacing with the likes of the New England Patriots no-huddle offense and the read option of the Washington Redskins, so Eagles ownership believed that Chip would be the right man to lead their team to adjust to the changing NFL landscape. It was also reported that even Bill Belichick sought out Chip Kelly during the offseason to learn more about his offense. But this hiring didn't come without some risk, as the league saw a number of college head coaches with big reputations crash and burn in the NFL. Kelly was tasked with utilizing the speed and skill players they had on their roster to take the Eagles' offense to the next level. So let's take a look at Chip Kelly's maiden season in charge in 2013. Heading into the campaign, only the most optimistic Eagles fans expected the team to contend for a playoff spot. After all, the Eagles had finished 4-12 the previous year, at one point losing 8 straight games in a row. The team still had many of the key pieces on offense from the season prior, with quarterbacks Nick Foles and Michael Vick battling it out for the starting position, running back LeSean McCoy, and receivers DeSean Jackson and Jeremy Maclin. However, the latter suffered a torn ACL during training camp and missed the entirety of the 2013 campaign. That said, 2013 was a surprise for Kelly, as the team managed to turn things around and finish 10-6 to win the NFC East, mainly due to the new explosive big play offense. After Foles won the starting position, the head coach was able to turn the second-year quarterback into a superstar and have running back LeSean McCoy regain his confidence as the best back in the league after an injury-stricken 2012 campaign. But the highlight of Chip Kelly's first year in Philly came in the final game of the season, with the division crown on the line against one of their biggest rivals in the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry World. With less than 2 minutes left in the game and the Cowboys trailing by 2 at their own 32, Eagles corner Brandon Boykin picked off Dallas QB Kyle Orton to pretty much ice the game for the home team. This was a huge win for the Eagles, as they stamped their ticket to a wild card showdown at home the week after against the New Orleans Saints. In that playoff game, after a quiet scoreless first quarter, Philly took a 7-6 lead into the half in a very nip-and-tuck game. But after losing the lead in the second half and now trailing 23-17 with less than 5 minutes to go, Nick Foles led his offense down the field all the way to the Saints goal line and connected with tight end Zach Ertz for a short 3-yard touchdown pass to take the go-ahead lead. However, fate would not be on Philadelphia's side, as the Saints on their last drive got within field goal range for a 32-yard Shane Graham walk-off field goal. This was a tough loss, as the game was within Philly's grasp, and losing to a team that were labeled a dome team who struggled on the road was a tough pill to swallow. But all in all, despite the playoff failure, the 23 campaign was still a major success for the organization, one that possibly looked to have steered the team in the right direction for the future. The Philadelphia Eagles entered the 2014 offseason making a few moves on their roster. They re-signed receiver Jeremy Maclin to a 1-year, $5.5 million contract after coming off an ACL injury, and quarterback Michael Vick signed with the New York Jets as a free agent. Philly was the city where Vick spent 5 seasons and revived his career and his personal life, so his departure was a painful one for the fans and his teammates. However, about a week later, the Eagles organization made a shocking move when they released the team's leading receiver DeSean Jackson, who had just come off of his most productive campaign the season prior. D-Jax led the team with 82 receptions for 1,332 yards and 9 touchdowns, and also made the Pro Bowl, so this move came as a surprise for many. According to reports, the team made the decision to part ways with the receiver after they became increasingly concerned about Jackson's off-field activities and his alleged reputed ties to LA street gang members. The 2014 regular season for the Philadelphia Eagles was a tale of two halves. Quarterback Nick Foles led them to a 6-2 start despite struggling with turnovers. However, in Week 9, Foles would suffer a broken collarbone in the game against the Houston Texans and was replaced by Mark Sanchez for the remainder of the season, who finished 4-4 in the team's final 8 games. This second half of Philly's season was a crushing blow to their playoff hopes after they lost 3 consecutive games from Week 14 to 16, 2 of them against division rivals the Cowboys and Redskins. In the end, they finished 10-6 in the NFC East, missing the playoffs. And despite a consecutive 10-win season, there really wasn't much positive things to take away from the campaign. There were still unanswered questions about whether or not Foles would be the team's starting QB, and they didn't really have a high pick in the draft to land a franchise quarterback. They also deeply missed the speed in the receiver position after the loss of DeSean Jackson, but that being said, the offense was one of the few bright spots for this team heading into the offseason. So prior to the start of the 2015 regular season, with Chip Kelly in complete control of personnel, the Eagles on March 10th traded LeSean McCoy to the Buffalo Bills for linebacker Kiko Alonso. Chip was criticized not only for the move, but for his handling of it. McCoy, who was the Eagles' all-time leading rusher, found out about the trade from friends and not directly from the team. At the time, some viewed that the trade made sense. McCoy would have had a cap number of almost $12 million in 2015, and after averaging a yard less per carry than he did in 2013, to some it could have appeared that he was on the decline. On top of that, his replacement was DeMarco Murray from the Dallas Cowboys, who just so happened to be the reigning NFL rushing leader. In Alonso, they received a linebacker who had missed the entire 2014 season due to an ACL injury, but in Philly it gave him a chance to reunite with his former Ducks head coach Chip Kelly. The Eagles also made another huge splash on the day as they moved on from quarterback Nick Foles in order to acquire Sam Bradford from the St. Louis Rams to be their starting QB in the 2015 season. Then days later, the Philadelphia roster took another blow. Despite leading the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns through the 2014 campaign, Eagles wide receiver Jeremy Maclin was not re-signed and left the team in free agency for Kansas City, where he signed a huge 5-year, $55 million contract. Although the Eagles offered the receiver a deal close to averaging the $11 million he received from the Chiefs, Kelly was criticized for his handling of the move and not reaching out to Maclin frequently during the process. After Jeremy signed with KC, the Eagles weren't able to replace their number 1 receiver and attempted to do so by drafting Nelson Agholor in the first round of the 2015 NFL Draft, a move that backfired pretty horribly.
My man just started throwing babies out the window. We was catching them, unlike Agholor.
The 2015 Philadelphia Eagles season can probably best be summarized by one word: awful. The Eagles finished below 500, and Chip Kelly was fired after a loss to the Redskins on December 29th with 1 game left on the season. Prior to their bye week in Week 8, the team sat with a 3-4 record and then went on a losing stretch where they lost 5 of 7 games from Week 10 to 16 and finished with a 7-9 record, missing the playoffs. The DeMarco Murray experiment failed, and Kiko Alonso suffered a partial tear on his repaired left ACL, forcing him to miss a chunk of the season. Chip also failed to get Nelson Agholor adjusted to the NFL, and in hindsight made the failure to re-sign Jeremy Maclin come back to haunt him. But the real downfall of the Philadelphia Eagles in 2015 essentially started the day Chip Kelly was given more power over personnel and made questionable move after questionable move. Initially, it was supposed to be part of a master plan to build a roster that trusts Kelly's philosophies and culture, but the moves did more to gut the team of depth and talent than anything else. When looking back on the Chip Kelly era and brotherly love, there were plenty of mistakes made aside from getting rid of the 3 core players in LeSean McCoy, DeSean Jackson, and Jeremy Maclin. During his tenure, the Eagles failed miserably in the draft when they selected linebacker Marcus Smith in 2014, who didn't even start in his rookie year and was out of the league by 2018. The following year, when Chip had full control of personnel, he selected Nelson Agholor 20th overall to replace Jeremy Maclin, but that also resulted in a failed pick. Then when he got rid of Shady McCoy to offer DeMarco Murray a huge 5-year, $40 million deal, in retrospect was another major disappointment under Kelly's watch. DeMarco was brought in, expected to drive the offense forward, but he wasn't even the team's most productive back in yards per carry, as he averaged a mere 3.6 yards per touch. On top of that, Murray's contract with the Eagles is often cited as one of the worst free agent contracts in NFL history. He lasted 1 season before being traded to the Tennessee Titans that included a swap of 4th-round picks. This was clearly another glaring mistake made by Chip Kelly in an attempt to revamp his roster heading into the 2015 season. Next, the trade for the often injured Sam Bradford was one that was very puzzling, mainly because he only had 1 year remaining on his rookie mega deal, meaning if he managed to match Foles' 2013 effort, it would have cost Philly tens of millions of dollars in guaranteed money to re-sign him. However, if he played poorly, it would have confirmed that he was not a very good quarterback and in essence was a lose-lose situation from the beginning. It's hard to forgive Chip for all the damage he has done to the organization, especially when listening to all the recent bad-mouthing from former players under his wing. From Michael Vick to DeSean Jackson to LeSean McCoy, many of the former Eagles players have nothing but harsh criticism for their former head coach.
Coming off my best statistic year, I mean, with 83 catches, over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, like you releasing a dude after him being a Pro Bowl receiver, like, what are you doing? Like, in my mind, I'm like, what's going on? And what mind bothering to me was the allegations and the stories they dug up and made up that was like, that was the reason why they released me. Oh, he's a gang member. He hangs out with thugs, criminals. You get what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, I have no felons. I have no record. I ain't never been to jail. Like, you saying, you mad at me because I grew up where I grew up and hang out who I hang out with. So for me, it was kind of like a stab in my back, bro. And it was like, everything I did for y'all and coming off my best years, like, y'all just come, like, if y'all didn't want to pay me, just tell me y'all didn't want to pay me. But to try to tarnish my name and who I am,
Crazy.
Like, and then you got other teams looking like, damn, do we want to take a risk on this dude?
Problem.
Like, is there something that's going to come out? Like, is he about to come out? He going to jail? You get what I'm saying? It was just like, it was a fucked up situation for me.
Let Nick be Nick. Now that, I got a lot of love for Philadelphia. Now that the little short coach is with the kids where he belongs, I got love for him now.
Chip Kelly's era in Philadelphia wasn't supposed to end this way. He was known as an offensive savant and genuine outside-the-box genius who was going to revolutionize the NFL and resurrect the Eagles, but in actuality, it appears he had set the team back. He was a coach who didn't really believe in his players, but more so his system. Kelly's collapse did not happen overnight, but it just felt that way. It was more so because over the course of his last 12 months, he made a staggering string of bad decisions that left many Philly fans with a bad taste in their mouths. However, with that being said, the Philadelphia Eagles were soon able to quickly bounce back after the mess that Kelly left and brought back Nick Foles to the team, who led them to their first ever Super Bowl. This fourth championship in team history wasn't without its controversy, as the Eagles soon found out that they had a quarterback controversy in 2018. Carson Wentz was a quarterback of the future until an injury paved the way for Nick Foles to cement himself in Eagles lore.